This video is going to demonstrate the setup of the Canon Rebel T7 DSLR camera, as well as some basic shooting tips. In your kit, you should have received the Canon Rebel camera body. You should have also received a kit lens, which is an 18 to 55 millimeter zoom lens. It's considered a zoom lens because if you take the long ribbed barrel and twist it, it is going to zoom for you. Also in your kit should have been the Canon battery charger, as well as the Canon battery. You should have also received, whether it was in your kit or at some point at the beginning of the quarter, you should have received some sort of SD memory card. The memory card might not have the same label as this one, but the basic shape is the same. And this is going to be what stores your photos. Okay, so a few things that you need to know in order to start taking photos with the Canon. One, you do have a cap for the body, and you just twist it to take it off. Your lens has two caps, obviously the one on the end that you just pinch to take off. And you also have the end cap here that you would just twist to take off. A few things to note on your lens. Whenever it says 18 to 55, what that's referring to is the zoom level. So 18 to 55 millimeter, 18, the lower the number, the wider it will zoom. The higher the number, that's the closer it is. 55 is pretty close to the way that the human eye sees. In fact, you're going to see, if you advance in photography, that one of the common lenses that you can buy is a 50 millimeter lens, which a lot of photographers refer to as the nifty 50. And it is one of the first lenses that a lot of people use because it is close to the way that the human eye sees. So also on this lens, you're going to see a couple of switches. The first one here says AF and MF. That's referring to autofocus and manual focus. I'm going to be showing you how to use both today. We are going to start on AF. So go ahead and switch that to AF. Okay, so just push that over. The other thing that you're going to see is the image stabilizer. So image stabilization is a way to help correct your own hand movements whenever you're hand holding the camera. So whenever you're holding the camera and you press the shutter button, which can be found right here, whenever you press that shutter button, sometimes we shake a little bit and don't realize it, especially if you're taking it at a slower shutter speed. If you don't know what slower shutter speed means, don't worry, we will discuss that later. Whenever you're taking a photo, sometimes we shake a little bit, and so what a lot of lens manufacturers have done is they've made a stabilizer, and if you're using Nikon or a different brand, they name it something different, but it does the same thing. It is actually going to cause the lens to shake a little bit, to vibrate, to counteract your own shake and your own vibration. So here's the thing, when you are hand holding your camera and you're taking photos with the lens attached, you want to make sure that the stabilizer is set to on. Whenever you have the camera on a steady surface, like this table, or if it's on a tripod, you want to make sure that that stabilizer is set to off. Reason being is if it is set to on, there is a chance, if it's on a tripod or a steady surface, that that vibration, that shake, is going to be detected, like it's going to detect its own vibration, its own shake, and it will be caught in a continuous loop of shaking, and it can actually eventually damage the camera. Now that's in an extreme case, but it is something that could happen. Whenever you are ready to connect the lens to the camera, what you should notice is on the actual camera, you're going to see on the silver ring, you have a red icon and you have a white icon. So you have the red circle and the white square. Those are going to match the shape and color on your lens. So if you open up your lens, we'll put the lens caps off to the side for now, you're going to notice if you twist it, so see I have a white square here. So basically what that means is I have to line up these shapes, okay, so I have to line up the squares and let that fall in, like you kind of feel it fall into the camera, there we go, and then twist it till it clicks. Okay, there's a little click. So now the lens is securely fastened to my camera. Whenever you want to remove the lens, you're going to press down on this button here, which is the lens release button. Make sure you have a hold of your lens before you do that. So I am holding the camera and the lens just in case. I'm going to press down on this button. Okay, so now it's pressed down, and I'm going to twist, and then the lens will come out. Okay. All right. The next thing that we want to do is insert the battery, and we also want to insert the memory card. So one thing, and it probably is like this already, but let's just double check. On the top of your camera, make sure the switch is set to off. Okay, anytime you're inserting the camera or the camera battery or the memory card, make sure your camera is set to off. Okay, so this one is off. If you turn your camera upside down and you look on the bottom, you're going to see the camera, battery, and card door. So go ahead and open that. All right, you're going to see on your battery that there is an arrow telling you which way to insert the battery. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, you're going to feel it kind of press down in there. You also see that there's this light gray switch that you can press, and that will pop the battery out whenever you're ready for it to be charged. The memory card is also going to go in the little slot right here by the battery. So go ahead and insert the memory card. Another thing to kind of note on the memory card, see if the camera will kind of pick it up here. There is actually a lock switch on this memory card. So if you look, you'll see that there is a padlock icon. Make sure that this little gray switch isn't set to that. If it is, that means that your card is locked and you're not going to be able to record any images from your camera. So just kind of giving you a little troubleshooting notice there. So go ahead and insert your memory card in. You'll kind of hear it click as well, and then close the door. Okay, so that is the basic setup of the camera. And now we are ready to take some photos. So let's go ahead and do that. A few things that we are going to set up in the camera itself first before we actually take pictures. So first thing we want to do is obviously set the switch to on. Okay. And then the other thing is the shooting mode dial. So this is your shooting mode dial. And you can see this little white notch right here. Whatever icon you have the white notch on, that's the shooting mode that you're in. For the first week of this assignment, we are going to be sticking with these basic image zone modes. So the one that I'm just going to start with is the icon. It looks like the woman turned sideways. That's your portrait mode. So I want to make sure, and I was just double checking, I want to make sure that that icon is set to that white switch right there. Okay, so I have that set. Basically now what I've done is I told my camera that I'm ready to take a portrait. Okay, so whenever you're ready, one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is obviously take off your end lens cap. Yes, it's probably going to happen that you're going to accidentally leave it on. It happens, it's fine. Okay, so a few things in setup that we want to do. If you look at the back of your camera, you're going to see that there's a menu button. So go ahead and hit the menu button. And you're going to see all of these tabs at the top, all these different colors. All right, so you can use these arrow keys here. So these kind of act as arrow keys to kind of go back and forth between them. One of the first things that you want to do is go over to this first wrench looking icon. And we are going to now use the up and down arrows to go to format card. Now before you choose anything else here, I want to warn you that this next step that we're going to do is actually going to erase any images that you have off of your card. So please make sure that if there's any images that you want on your card, that you back them up on your computer or your phone first. Okay, so pause this video if you need to do that and then come back later. Okay, so I have selected format card. I am going to go down and if it does go to sleep like that, then just hit menu again. So right here's format card. I'm going to hit set. And then it's going to tell you, hey, if you format the card, all the data is going to be lost. Well, hopefully you backed up your photos. If not, do that now and then hit OK. The reason that we just did that was so that way your card knows how to talk to this particular camera model. There's plenty of different camera models, plenty of different cards, and anytime you're working with a new card and a new camera, you want to take that step. In fact, professional photographers, before they go to any shoot, one of the first things that they're going to do is format their card. Another thing that helps do is eliminate the chance of card failure or card read failure, and that does happen the same way that any technology can fail. Okay, the other thing that we want to do, let's use the arrow over key, and let's go back to the first tab icon, the first red one, and we want to just make it so this first thing that says image quality, the first option that says image quality is selected. And then hit set. Okay, so all of these options that you're seeing here are different file types and quality types that you can photograph in. The one that you want to be in for this class is the L with the curved line or the M with the curved line. If you use the stepped lines, basically that's a loss in quality, and we don't want that. The L and the M and the S literally stand for large, medium, and small. And for the photos that you guys are going to be taking, large and medium are the ones I want you to use, because what if you decide to use these photos for something in your portfolio? The better or the higher the image quality or the image file size, the better the quality. There we go. Okay, so if yours was set to something else, please make sure that you go over to the correct one and then hit the set button. Okay, set is the same as OK. You will be learning about RAW whenever you get to advanced digital imaging. Okay, so that is the basic setup that you want to do with your menus inside of your camera. To get out of the menu, you can do two things. You can either hit the menu button here to get out of it, or at any time if you want to either wake up your camera or you want to get out of the menu, you can just slightly tap the shutter button here. Like, don't press it the whole way, just tap it, and it will wake up your camera, and it will also remove it from the menu screen. The next part of this video is going to demonstrate how to take photos using the Canon Rebel T7 DSLR camera while in autofocus mode. So just a quick recap and a check. Let's make sure that one, the camera is set to on. Let's also make sure that the icon of the lady is right next to the white mark on your camera. So this is the shooting mode dial. So make sure that the portrait icon is right next to the white mark. On the lens, make sure that the lens is set to AF for autofocus, and also make sure that the stabilizer is set to on. Okay, so you want your settings to be just like that. All right, if yours was on manual focus and you just switched it and you later find that it is not autofocusing, turn off your camera, take the lens off, switch the focus back and forth to the one that you want it to be, and then put the lens back on and turn the camera on. Okay, so a few things. Whenever you're getting ready to take photos, there's two ways that you can view your scene. You can view your scene using the viewfinder or the LCD screen. We're going to look at through the viewfinder first. So whenever you're in autofocus mode and you're taking pictures in these basic image shooting modes, what you want to know is that with the shutter button, in order for the camera to achieve proper focus first, you want to hold the shutter button halfway down first. So right now, it's halfway down. And you may have heard it kind of like focus a little bit there. Let me zoom in and zoom out and see if you can hear it again. Okay, so it was quick. So I haven't taken the photo yet. All I've done is I've pressed the shutter button halfway down, and you'll see the lens is going to pop up, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So the shutter button is pressed halfway down. So basically what's going to happen is now the camera has achieved focus, and I can press the shutter the rest of the way down, and then it's going to take the photo. Obviously when you do this, you should be looking through the viewfinder. I'm just holding the camera down here so that way you can see what I'm doing. Now, whenever you press the shutter button halfway down, in the bottom of the viewfinder, so I can't show it to you through the camera, obviously, but in the bottom of the viewfinder, you should see green numbers when you're looking through it. If those green numbers are blurry, then there is one adjustment you have to make first. So what you would have to do first is you would have to change the dioptric adjustment knob. Yes, that is the actual name of it, dioptric adjustment knob. So this little jog wheel right here, basically what this does is it clears up the screen that you're looking through to match your eyesight. Some of us have contacts or glasses and some of us do not, so our eyes work differently. This dioptric adjustment knob makes it so that you can see clearly through the camera. So if you're looking through the viewfinder and those numbers are blurry, and again, if you don't see the numbers, just tap your shutter button halfway down and let it go, and you'll see them. You're going to need to move that dioptric adjustment knob. All right, so again, in order to take photos using autofocus, you want to hold the viewfinder. You want to hold the viewfinder up to your eye and then press the shutter button halfway down, like that. Once you have pressed the shutter button halfway down, you might see the flash pop up. If the flash pops up, basically what that means is that the camera realizes that there isn't enough light for it to actually see your scene. So you might actually have to leave the flash up. So my shutter button is still pressed halfway down. I have not released the shutter button. So I bring it up, I compose my scene, and then I press the shutter button the rest of the way down, and then it takes the photo. Okay, so a few tips here. If you don't like this flash, because this flash does not really give you good quality light, you're going to notice that sometimes it will pop up like this. With your shutter button still pressed halfway down, I'm still pressed halfway down, just close it. And then you can take the picture. So press the shutter button the rest of the way down, like that. So that's how you could get away with not having the flash in your photo. Another thing that you could do, once it pops up, is you could take a piece of plain white paper, make sure it's white and not colored, or else you're going to have a color in your scene. And then just put the paper right here, so that way the light is actually going to hit the paper and then bounce back towards you. Side note, when you do this, make sure the eye that is not looking through the viewfinder is closed, or you're going to get a burst of light kind of hit your other eye there. So I don't want anyone to blind themselves, so just be aware of that. You could also just put your hand in front of it. This will also kind of block the light, but the paper is more ideal. Okay, so you could do either one of those things so that way the light isn't hitting your actual scene. All right, so again, in order to take a photo in autofocus, you're going to press the shutter button halfway down. Okay, if the flash pops up, okay, it happens. You can always just push it back down. My finger is still pressed halfway down on that shutter button. I have not released my finger. All right, compose your scene the way that you want. Oops, now I did. Compose your scene the way that you want, and then press the shutter the rest of the way down, like that. And then you'll have a photo. When you are ready to review your photos, if you look on the back of your camera, you are going to see a button that looks like a blue arrow. So go ahead and press that, and then you're going to see the photos. All right, so you can go through them with the arrows. Okay, so you can see these photos that I was taking whenever I wasn't looking through the viewfinder at all. If you use the jog wheel near the shutter button, which is this right here, this is a jog wheel, it's actually going to go through a grouping of 10 photos at a time. Now I only have 2 or 3, so I'm not going to have that, but just a little side note there that you can do that. You can also zoom in on a photo, and this is something that I definitely recommend you to do because it's hard to see if you got focus on this, 4-inch screen here. So this button right here actually is going to allow you to zoom in. If you look, there's actually a magnifying glass there. So this is going to allow you to zoom in to your photo. I definitely recommend that you guys start to zoom into your photos to see if it is in focus. You can always use these arrow keys to navigate around your image. And then you just keep zooming in as much as you want. Now you can see it'll get in really tight there. And then if you want to zoom out, just hit the other button. And if you zoom out more, you'll start to see more of your photos. Okay, and then if you want to delete them, just find the button on the back of your camera that has the blue trash can, and then you can press delete, and it's just going to say, you know, do you really want to erase it or not? So you can choose erase, or you can just cancel out of it. Okay, and then just hit the playback button again to get out of that mode. Okay, so I also mentioned showing you how to take photos using the LCD screen. So let me adjust the camera here. Okay, so if you want to take photos using the LCD screen, so meaning instead of looking through the viewfinder, you want to just look at the LCD screen, you're going to hit this button right here that looks like a camera. Okay, so as soon as you press that, now you can see through my camera lens here. Just one thing to note is that this screen is going to look brighter than your actual scene does by a little bit, because this is a digital screen and this over here is real life. Okay, so just kind of be aware of that. The other thing is that this is going to eat up your battery a little bit more. So if you're kind of running on a low battery, you might not want to use this. Personally, I advise graphic design students to stick with the viewfinder, because when you're looking through the viewfinder, you're not paying attention to anything else going on around you other than what you see through your lens. So you're not distracted by anything else. Some people don't have an issue with distraction, so they can look through the LCD screen and not worry about anything else, but for a lot of people, just using the viewfinder is going to help you get a more creative photo. Okay, so let's turn that LCD screen back on again. All right, you're going to notice that there's a little white square in there. You can move that white square around. Okay, so you can see the white square is all the way over here now. Basically, that's you telling the camera where you want it to focus. Okay, you're still going to press the shutter button halfway down. Okay, so right now the shutter button's right here. So I'm going to press it halfway down. And then, whoops, as soon as that button, or as soon as that square turns green, okay, so now it's green, then you can press the shutter the rest of the way down, and then it's going to take that photo. Okay, so that's how you can take photos using the LCD screen. So when you're in autofocus shooting through the viewfinder, the camera sets the focus point for you, and you can actually see it because in the viewfinder it is going to have a little red dot that lights up, and wherever that red dot is, that's where it's focusing. If you're shooting in autofocus through the LCD screen, you can move this little box around, and that is where it's going to focus, like wherever you move that box. So just remember that if you're using the LCD screen, use the arrows to move that box around. Press your shutter halfway down. Okay, and then you'll see that the box turns green. Once the box turns green, then you can press your shutter the rest of the way down, and then take the photo. Okay, the same tips still apply with the flash, that you can either you can close it once you have your shutter pressed halfway down, or you can use the white piece of paper in order to change that. To turn off the LCD screen, just hit the button again, and that will turn it off. A few quick things to note about cameras. Whenever you are taking photos with your camera, if it ever does not focus for any reason, it might be because you're too close to your subject. Cameras can only get so close to a subject before it just can't see it. I know it sounds weird because they seem like they're such advanced pieces of technology, but they can't focus if they're this close to a subject. Some of them need maybe a foot or so before they can focus. So just kind of making everyone aware. So one reason that your camera might not focus is because it is too close to the subject. Another reason it might not focus is because it's too dark or too bright. Think about it. If you're in your room and it's completely pitch black, you can't see anything. Well, your camera can't see anything either. So make sure that you have adequate light whenever you're taking photos. So 2 reasons a photo or a camera might not focus, assuming that you have everything set up correctly, is because you're too close to your subject, or because you are in a room or a situation that is too dark or too bright. And that is how you take photos using this camera in autofocus when you are using the viewfinder or the LCD screen. This last part of the video is going to demonstrate how to use this camera in order to take photos using manual focus. Okay, so for this part, we want to take a look at the lens, and now we're going to switch the focus to manual focus. So push that switch to MF for manual focus. Again, if it doesn't work the way that you want, you could always turn off the camera, take the lens off, switch it back and forth, put the lens back on, and then turn your camera back on. Okay, so whenever you are using manual focus, what you really want to pay attention to is the barrels on your lens. So I'd already mentioned that this long ribbed barrel is for zooming, so you can just spin it and that's going to zoom in and zoom out. You have another ribbed barrel, it's very narrow, and it's this one right here. If you spin that one, that is your focus ring. Whenever you're in manual focus, this is how you're going to be focusing. And it doesn't matter if you are doing that through the viewfinder or through the LCD screen. This is how you focus. There are certain times when manual focus works really well and when autofocus works really well. So it all depends on your comfort level and how well you can focus with each one. So there really isn't a right or a wrong. It's just, can you get focused? No one's going to ask you, oh, is that autofocus or manual focus? Just make sure your photo is in focus. Okay, so with manual focus, you don't have to hold the shutter halfway down because, like I did it just out of reflex there. You do not have to hold the shutter halfway down because it does not require the camera to actually focus on anything. So you could actually, I'm going to leave it up just because the flash is going to want to pop up and there's going to be a little bit of a delay. So what you're going to do is we're going to start off through the viewfinder. Okay, so again, you're still going to need to adjust the dioptric adjustment knob if the green numbers in the bottom of the viewfinder are blurry for you. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to bring the viewfinder up to your eye and you're going to look through it, and then you're going to spin this focus ring at the end until your scene is in focus. Once it's in focus, then press the shutter button the rest of the way down. Okay, so you're going to bring the viewfinder up to your eye, zoom in or out the level that you want, and then adjust, I have to make sure you can see it, adjust the focus ring so that way your scene is in focus. Okay, that one's pretty good. And then just press the shutter button the whole way down. You don't have to worry about pressing it halfway down. The camera isn't setting focus. You are with the focus ring at the end. So just a little reminder there. Okay, so that's how you use manual focus to take a photo or focus a photo through the viewfinder. If you want to do this with the LCD screen, you're going to down. You are going to hit the LCD screen button on the back of the camera. So you're going to press that. And then you're still going to do the same thing. You're still going to focus using that focus ring at the end. So that's what I'm turning right now, is that. Okay. There is a square that's there. It doesn't play the same role that it did in autofocus because you are focusing with manual focus. Now, one little tip here, and this works with autofocus as well. If you're in the LCD screen, one thing that you want to do, the same way you can zoom in on a photo after you've taken it, you can digitally zoom in right now to see if you actually have focus. So I'm going to hit this button once, and you're going to see that it's actually focused on that chair. So what I can do, let me get this closer to the screen, I can spin the focus ring. You can see there's a way out of focus. Okay, it gets in focus there, and if I go too far, it's out of focus again. So this is not your zoom level. This is not the photo. This is not going to be the way the photo is composed. It's going to be, you got to keep hitting the plus sign. It's actually going to look like that. But zooming in is going to show you better, more clear, if you actually have focus. All right, so if you're struggling just because of your eyesight to achieve focus through manual focus, maybe this is something you want to use. Okay, so that's going to zoom in even more. Okay, so you can see there's a little part there. Trying not to shake my hands too much. There's a little part there where it actually gets nice and clear and in focus. All right, so just to show you, whenever I take this photo, it's not going to look like that. It's not going to look like that zoomed in part of the texture of the chair. All right, so I'm going to press the shutter the whole way down. And then you can see the entire chair in that photo. All right, even though it was zoomed in. So just wanted to demonstrate that for you. Again, whenever you're in manual focus on your lens, you want to make sure that you're adjusting this this ribbed barrel right here, so that way you can achieve focus. The bigger ribbed barrel is how you zoom. And that is how you take photos using manual focus.